Yeah, and I hopefully a few other things in the future. Thank you.
Asante sana. Now, my very dear sister and friend, Ambassador Dr. Amina Mohammed, my good friend and brother P.S. Okudo, all the heads and representatives of our sagas and other departments that have been domiciled under the Ministry of Sports, Culture and Heritage. And ladies and gentlemen, members of the Fourth Estate, I am delighted to be here this morning and to say that it is moments such as this that fill my heart with pride for being Kenyan. I have had the privilege to be part of His Excellency President William Ruto's transition team. And I want to say that it has been amazing to witness and to be part of this seamless, harmonious transition from our fourth administration to the fifth administration. If this morning you have no other reason to be proud to be Kenyan, be proud that nowhere else on this African continent, indeed on the face of the earth, do you have this kind of elaborate, seamless, harmonious transition from one administration to another. And I speak as a person who is fairly well familiar with ongoings across the globe. Some of you must have observed the last transition in one of the global powers. And you must have seen the rancor and even disharmony that defines transitions elsewhere. And so let us be very proud of this tradition, of this custom, that after every electoral cycle, we can witness this kind of peaceful transition from one administration to the next. And that when that happens, the whole of the civil service fall into single column in service of the incoming administration. I pay homage to Kenya's civil service and to this land we call our home. Asante sana. Without embellishing anything, I want to tell you, without any fear of contradiction, that if President William Ruto had asked me to choose which pair of shoes to step into, I wouldn't have wished for or chosen better pair of shoes than those I step in here this afternoon. I'm stepping into the shoes of truly a Kenyan giant, a Kenyan heroine by any definition, by any stretch of the imagination. A lady that I have known for a long while, a lady that I have observed and have had the pleasure to work with. Early in my days as a member of parliament, I had the privilege to work with Ambassador Dr. Amina as she anchored the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Affairs, a ministry that had the critical responsibility to transition Kenya from what I like to call our first republic after independence to the second republic, born by reason of our Constitution 2010. And that ministry presided over that process. We got a new constitution that was promulgated by the late President Mwai Kibaki on August the 25th, 2010. And I know that heroes don't come bigger than makers of the village, of being a central part of, because I co-chaired the Parliamentary Select Committee on Constitutional Review, together with my brother Ababu Namwamba, the Member of Parliament for Mandera Central. I want to acknowledge the role you played in that critical process, which for me has made it possible for an event such as this to happen, because it is under our new constitutional dispensation that we dreamed and envisioned this kind of a country, this kind of a nation. I have watched you serve this country thereafter as a Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs and as Kenya's premier diplomat in that role. You performed splendidly, splendidly. And when I arrived at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in March 2018, one of my regrets that I arrived on the scene just as you exited the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to take on your next year duty at the Ministry of Education, where again you did a splendid job. If Kenyans had listened to you as Cabinet Secretary then, some of the hue and cry and regrets on CBC would have been dealt in time. As we say, a stitch in time saves 9. So we didn't take a stitch in time as you saw, as you had envisaged. But when the history of this land is written, it shall be remembered that indeed you alerted this country to the risks inherent in rushing any key policy and the necessity to listen to everybody to get it right the first time out. And then you ended up here, my own Ministry of Sports. And when you moved to this ministry, I was actually a bit worried for you. But the quintessential diplomat that you are has served you well in navigating the myriad landmines that populate this space. And now you hand me this landmine-infested space. Thank you very much. But I just want to say that I'm very proud of this great Kenyan lady that I have the privilege of receiving the reins of this ministry from. I'm proud of you, Madam CS. Please allow me to keep pivoting back to you during my tour of duty here, because I know you are a reservoir of knowledge and experience, and I would want to continue drinking from that fountain. I want to wish you well. You have been at this ministry at a period where you have also had incredible personal challenges. As P.S. Okudo mentioned in his speech, you lost your brother while here, you lost your spouse while here, but you have remained strong and stoic in the midst of all those challenges to continue steering this important ministry. So I don't want to call this a farewell. I don't want to call this a goodbye. I want to call this as an opportunity for us to transition to the next stage of serving our country. And I want to wish you well, while assuring you that in a similar manner that I have continued to circulate within your circuit, I will continue to do so with your kind permission. So nimemshukuru Mheshimiwa Waziri anayeondoka, and as we say, a leader is as good as the team around him. I'm a believer in the African saying that if you want to move very fast, you go alone. But if you want to move very far, you go with others. I want to believe that the Cabinet Secretary has come this far because he has had a fantastic team moving, lock, stock and barrel, in sync with her steps. And I want to look forward to doing the same with this team. The ministry has undergone a bit of rejigging in its architecture, and now from the Ministry of Sports, Culture and Heritage, it has now been baptized the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Sports and the Arts. A large percentage of what Cabinet Secretary Amina has presided over will still constitute this rejigged ministry, with the additional State Department of Youth Affairs and additional responsibilities in the arts, including music. And I want to acknowledge the team from the Presidential Music Commission. And the films, and generally what we call the creatives, fine art, performing art, and the like. I consider it to be an important rejigging of the architecture of the ministry, because it has now consolidated pretty much all aspects that are important in terms of serving the best interests of our young people and servicing the talent space. The talent space, whether it is sports or artistic. I feel privileged and greatly honored to have the responsibility to head this newly rejigged ministry. And I want to thank His Excellency President William Ruto for this honor and privilege to serve in this ministry. And also to thank the National Assembly that found me worthy of clearance or confirmation after my nomination. I want to sit here and give assurance, give assurance to the youth of this country. In the youth of this country, you constitute 75% of our population. I want to give you assurance. I want to give assurance to our artists. I want to give assurance to our sports people, because you are now the constituency that I have been privileged, the honor of serving. I want to give you an assurance borrowed from the words of Winston Churchill. On the morning of August 20th, 1940, Churchill addressed the House of Commons. And that speech was a tribute paid to the small team of elite airmen that had the difficult task of protecting the English airspace in the midst of the Second World War, when the whole of the UK was under relentless bombing. And so Churchill stands on the floor of the Commons and says, and I quote him, "Never in the history of human conflict has so much been owed to so many by so many to so few. Never in the history of human conflict has so much been awed by so many to so few. Churchill was saying that the entirety of the English citizenry or population owed so much to this small team of elite airmen that risked their lives every day to protect the English airspace from relentless bombing. I want to borrow those words but flip them in addressing our youth, our artists, our sports people, and tell you, never in the history of any country has so much been awed by so many to so few. And I say that because brand Kenya globally owes its shine to our sports people, to our artists. Wherever you are in this country, whether you are in the villages of Budalani where are traced by original, ordinary natural domicile, or you are from Balambala or Vipingo, I am sure, no matter your language, your tribe, your religion, your heritage, your heart always flutters when you hear the Kenya National Anthem being played in some of the most crazy parts, distinct parts of this world, from Samoa to St. Nevis and Kitts, all sorts of places. You are sitting there and you hear Kenya National Anthem being played. Why? Because some Kenyan athlete has won some marathon. Or our rugby sevens team has just put in some incredible performance. Or recently, a young lady called Okutoi, shattering the glass ceiling and winning a title at the Australian Open or at Wimbledon. Never in the history of a nation has so much been awed by so many to so few. Kenyans, you owe our sportsmen so much because our brand depends on them. Our brand depends on our artists. You know, when Lupita Nyong'o won the Oscar, it sometimes gets lost on us that that was actually the first ever Oscar to any artist of any color, complexion, or contraption to go to an African artist. That one by Lupita Nyong'o was a first. She's such an icon. And the branding value this country has received from the Lupita Nyong'o stardust is incredible. You can't pay for it. You can't buy that kind of brand power, however much money you spend. Our artists and our sports people are our extraordinary ambassadors who serve this country with so much diligence, so much dedication. CS, I want to applaud you for returning the Safari Rally to the WRC circuit. And you talked of the incredible historic numbers that watched this event. You two gentlemen seated in that corner, you deserve national honors. If it hasn't been done yet, it must be done. Thank you very much for supporting the Cabinet Secretary to make that incredible journey. And I told Phineas that we must maintain that momentum and we must move the Safari Rally back to the people from Naivasha to Kwale, from Kwale to Migori, and make the Safari Rally an event. I mean, when I was a little boy, I would walk for miles, sometimes not even to see the car. Just the dust, the plume of dust alone would just convince me that I have been part of the excitement of the Safari Rally. It is a powerful branding platform for us as a country. Never has so much been owned by so many to so few in the history of any country. We are sports people, and Madam Secretary, I want to assure you that I want to continue the momentum of the mantra you said while here of putting the athlete at the center of our action, of our activity, of our planning by this ministry. Let me conclude by saying that very, very quickly, as I assume office, there are certain targets that I would want Kenyans to know, certain immediate plans that we would want to start running with very fast. We want to immediately get down on dealing with the FIFA imbroglio, the imbroglio around FKF. I have been sufficiently briefed by the Cabinet Secretary. And I believe I will be paying very keen attention to the measures that have already been proposed, put in place, so that we can find a solution to this gridlock. A solution that is in sync with the call by His Excellency President William Ruto of fidelity to the rule of law. Because if we throw the rule of law out the window, then it is anarchy. And it's anarchy that would consume our entire sporting space. And so that is a priority that I'm going to start working on today, not tomorrow. I promise during my vetting that on day one in office, I will be on this one like a virus. I am going to be on this one right now after this press conference. We want to engage all the stockholders involved. We want to engage FIFA. And we want everybody to be part of a substantive, long-lasting solution so that football can be what it should be, a fun space, but also an industry from which our young people can earn a sustainable, decent living. Number two, we want right away to get onto this doping crisis. We have such a fine image as a sporting nation. And we cannot allow the greed, the misconduct of a few people to destroy this hard-earned image of Kenya as a fine sporting nation that plays by the rules. No, if you are watching me out there, we will not allow you. If you are a doctor out there and you're part of a syndicate that is providing substances to our athletes, I am on you right from this press conference. If you are an agent, foreign or local, and you are part of this syndicate that is getting us on the brink of being considered for banning, be warned that from this moment, your days are so numbered. Adak, I'm going to be working with you from this press conference. I will work with you. We'll work with the Athletics Integrity Unit. We'll work with WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency. We are going to work with all stakeholders to make it extremely expensive to dope. It is going to be extremely expensive to dope here. And among the things you're going to be doing in terms of legislative and policy action is to elevate banned substances to the same caliber of hard drugs. So that if you are caught with these substances that some of these people are taking so lightly, we will treat you as a trafficker in heroin, in cocaine, and other hard drugs. You cannot destroy our image as a country as we watch. So we're going to be on that. Number 3, I have just 3 texts which I want to be starting off with from this afternoon. Royalties, royalties, royalties to our artists. There is no way we can play around with an industry that is so potent, so productive in other parts of the world. The wealthiest people in South Africa, in Nigeria, are artists. How can Kenyan artists live in such miserable conditions?
To all the outstanding men and women in this room who lead the way in paying taxes and keeping our country independent. Asanteni sana.
How much are you pivoting back to the artists whose songs you place on the Skiza platform? All these online digital platforms where you log in and you get artistic productions of our young talented people, how much are you paying back to the original artist? The CMOs that have been licensed by Kikobo to manage these spaces like the Music Society, the Music Society of Kenya, that have a responsibility. I am sure that they can easily collect billions of shillings from their activities. How much of it are you giving back to the artists? Before the end of this year, I want to see a check, not a light check. I want to see a serious check from the CMOs going directly to the pockets of artists in terms of royalties. Because in the final analysis, as I conclude, we want to turn sports and the arts into the mega industry it should be, providing employment and livelihood for our young people and powering the economic revival of Kenya. We can do it, we should do it, we must do it, and we will do it. For the youth of this country, I agree with His Excellency the President that we must not close our eyes with the short-term and sustainable programs like Kazi Mtaani, where you are given a shovel and a broom to sweep some street, and that is it. We must integrate the young people of this country in the bigger dream of unleashing the full potential of our economic might. And so, for instance, the other day the President commissioned a housing program in Kibra. Our young people must be an integral part of this program, not just as mutual call, no, at every stage. If you are a young person who is a physical planner, you should be part of the physical planning for this program. If you are a young person who is an architect, you must be part of the architectural planning for this program. If you are a young person who is an electrician, who is a plumber, who has technical skill, you must bring your skills to bear in these big economic programs, not just to sweep streets and collect garbage. We want to provide a platform where our youth can lead dignified lives by placing their skills in the service of their country. And Kenya has a youth bulge. The best trained human resource on this continent is here in this country. We must put it to use. And we must also be able to complete circuits of every program we initiate. The Ajira program, for instance, there are 1,300 young people today working at the judiciary under the Ajira program, transcription, and such activities. What plan do we have to integrate them to become part of the civil service? The young people who do internships. We must have a plan to give our young people hope by offering employment opportunities that are sustainable and that are long-term and that lead to dignified existence. We'll do that through government, but most importantly, for me sitting here, we'll do it by unleashing the full force of sports and the arts as a mega industry and a mega employer. I give my assurance that we will do this as a team. After this meeting, I'm meeting Kekobo and the music people to tell me how much money they can raise between now and December, because I want Kenyan artists to have a serious end to this year. So they have to tell me how much they're going to raise and how much they're going to put in the pockets of artists. But I also want the sporting federations to know that our conversation is not going to be just about football. Because when you talk about branding this country, cricket has branded Kenya incredibly. Cricket. Rugby has branded Kenya incredibly. Athletics has branded Kenya. Motorsports has branded Kenya. Tennis is now branding Kenya. We are going to have a holistic, eagle's eye view of the sporting horizon or sporting terrain, so that we service this whole space and not just one corner. So even as we resolve the issues around football, we'll also resolve the issues around badminton, the issues around swimming, the issues around cycling. We want to have a global view so that all sporting federations and interests can feel part of this journey. And even sports activities undertaken by physically disadvantaged citizens will also receive attention. Asanteni sana. I'll be talking to you more as we move forward, but that is in brief or in a snapshot some of the priorities we want to start running with immediately. Waziri, asante sana. Ninashukuru tena. Team, thank you very much. This vessel is ready to fly. And by the way, still on the youth, we are going to be working very much with young people in various capacities. We want to see a lot of young people involved, not just in doing it, but also in management, in helping us to set the right policies, the right legislation. So I know that young people in this country are very disillusioned. Young people are very disenchanted. Because even if you look at the demographics of the last elections, the largest majority of people who didn't turn up to vote were largely young people, because they feel disconnected from what is going on, we must reconnect back to our youth. And we are going to connect through what I call quid pro quo. We are going to quid pro quo with our young people. As they scratch the back of this country in what they do for this country must also scratch the back of our young people by serving the interests of our young people. It is called quid